Global Generation has been going, I think, for about 19 years, and essentially it's come out of partnerships around the King's Cross development. So working with developers and the council to kind of secure meanwhile spaces that we can develop into community garden spaces, and it's kind of grown from there. We're currently I think it's our 6th garden around the area, so we've kind of always had to move every few years as spaces kind of get then repurposed, but we're currently on our biggest ever site, which is behind the British Library, and it's called the Story Garden, and it's quite an interesting space because it's right next to Somerstown kind of community, but then kind of the other side you've got all the massive development and kind of Google buildings happening and stuff, so it's at a kind of interesting juxtaposition, I think, between different societies in London. We at the Story Garden, so we run a huge range of projects actually. So we have community grow beds, which are kind of allotment beds for local residents, so people who don't have access to their own gardens or growing space, they can come and grow in the garden with support from our garden team. We work a lot with schools and youth groups in the area, so either we go to the schools and we run projects around their own kind of school gardens, and we do projects around gardening there, or they come to the Story Garden and we do kind of getting back to nature projects with them in our space. We actually, during the lockdown, massively increased our food production and put kind of really a lot of effort into that. And that's my 1-year-old babbling away in the background. Yeah, so we now actually supply a lot of the fresh food to the local food bank, which I do agree with Ian that that's maybe not something that we necessarily should fall to us, but it's good that we've been able to help in that way and kind of supplement out a lot of the other kind of more dry goods that they get with actually some fresh locally grown vegetables and salads and things as well, so that's been really beneficial. We run a series of after school programs, one of which is the Generators, which is for ages 11 to 14, and that's a group that actually we will be working with MarketingKind, so we're really keen to develop a film working with our young people, and potentially some other marketing material as well, but actually around recruitment. But for us it's really important that actually the young people we work with, it's their voice, so we're quite keen to see how do we bring them into this process, so rather than necessarily the content and the brief coming from us, that is actually coming from the young people that we work with. So that's kind of our key focus. I suppose just to wrap up, a couple of other things around. So we actually have 2 main garden sites, and we've also just got a boat which will be on the Regent's Canal as well. So we've got our main Story garden is the Story Garden. We've got another one in Canada Water called the Paper Garden, and then we're kind of in the process of setting up the floating garden. And we've actually sorted out a lease for 999 years, which will be our first permanent garden, which will be also in King's Cross, and that will be active in around 2 years' time. So we're hoping once the Story Garden kind of comes to an end, we'll be able to move over to the permanent site, and then we're not going to have to pack up and leave every couple of years after that. So that's really exciting. And everything we build, it's around kind of circular economy, reuse of materials. How do we kind of upskill local young people through that construction process, and kind of co-design, this construction as much as possible. So it's all about creating the spaces together rather than us kind of just coming in and creating a garden space. It's about building that with the local community and then really kind of having ownership of that space.